Discovery and First Contact. The collinear glided silently through the void, its bioluminescent hull pulsing with gentle blue-green light as it approached the unexplored system. Captain Malik Voss stood on the command deck, her 4 eyes carefully studying the holographic display floating before her. The ship had been mapping the edges of the Veil Nebula for nearly a standard cycle, cataloging star systems for the hegemony's ever-expanding database. "Captain, we're detecting an artificial signal from the third planet," reported Science Officer Tekla, her slender fingers dancing over the console. "It's unusual. The signature doesn't match any known hegemony patterns." Malik's secondary eyelids blinked with interest. "Unusual how?" "It's ancient technology, Captain. Primitive radio waves, repeating in a pattern that suggests intelligence rather than natural phenomena." "Origin?" Malik asked, mandibles clicking softly. Tekla's expression shifted, her chromatophores darkening with surprise. "According to our archives, human." A ripple of tension passed through the bridge crew. Humans were considered a lost species, their homeworld devastated centuries ago in what the archives called the Terminal War. Most hegemony citizens considered them extinct, with only scattered tales of human colonies surviving in distant sectors, stories treated as myths rather than history. Humans. Security Chief Draz rumbled from his station, his armored exoskeleton shifting as he straightened. "That's impossible. Their technology was primitive. They couldn't have reached this sector before their extinction." "The signal appears to be a distress beacon," Tekla continued. "Activated recently, but the underlying technology is at least 3 centuries old." Malik studied the planet on the display, a blue-green world with white cloud patterns and large continents. It appeared habitable, with atmospheric readings similar to those in the archives for Earth. "Prepare a landing party," she decided. "I want environmental suits, defensive measures only. We observe and document. If humans have survived here, the hegemony will want to know." 6 hours later, Malik led the expedition team to the surface. Their shuttle descended through cloud layers that seemed oddly uniform, too perfect to be naturally formed. The terrain below showed signs of terraforming. Forests arranged in geometric patterns, rivers that curved with mathematical precision, and in the center of a large clearing, a dome-shaped structure that gleamed in the sunlight. "Artificial weather control systems," muttered Tekla, scanning the landscape. "Advanced, but not hegemony technology." The shuttle touched down 100 meters from the dome. Through the viewports, they could see figures moving outside the structure, bipedal, with the distinctive silhouette of humans. "They've spotted us," said Draz, checking his defensive shield generator. "And they're waving." The humans, if that's what they were, stood in a perfect line, equidistant from each other, gesturing with mechanical precision. "Something's not right," Malik said quietly. "Those movements are too coordinated." The expedition team exited the shuttle cautiously. Malik, Tekla, Draz, and Medical Officer Neria approached the waiting humans, while the interior of the dome was a marvel of engineering, a self-contained ecosystem with gardens, living quarters, and what appeared to be research facilities. Everything was immaculate, functioning with perfect efficiency. Too perfect. "Our ancestors established sanctuary during the diaspora from Earth," Seven explained as they toured the facility. "We've maintained their vision of a perfect human society, free from the flaws that doomed our homeworld." "How many of you live here?" asked Neria, the medical officer. "Exactly 500, Seven replied without hesitation. "The optimal population for our resource management systems." "What are you?" Malik demanded, as Draz positioned himself protectively in front of her and Tekla. Seven's smile widened, revealing teeth that seemed too perfect, too uniform. "We are humanity's greatest achievement. Adaptation perfected. We don't die. We don't conflict. We simply incorporate. And soon, you will join us." The ground beneath their feet began to shift, revealing not soil but a living membrane that pulsed with the same rhythm as the central building. The entire colony wasn't built on the planet, it was growing from it. Malik reached for her emergency transporter beacon, their last resort. As the humans of Sanctuary advanced, their movements now fluid and predatory, no longer maintaining the pretense of normality. The hegemony will quarantine this entire system, Malik warned, backing away. Seven's laugh echoed from a dozen identical mouths. They can try. But by then, we'll have incorporated your ship and its technology. After centuries of waiting, Sanctuary is ready to expand. As the human swarm closed in, Malik activated the transporter, hoping the colonier would receive their emergency signal before it was too late. The truth revealed and survival. The emergency transporter beam deposited Malik, Draz, and Tekla in the colonier's quarantine bay, their arrival triggering immediate lockdown protocols. Malik stumbled forward, her exoskeleton giving a warning chirp as it detected anomalous particles clinging to her environmental suit. Decontamination sequence initiated, announced the ship's AI as sterilizing gas filled the chamber. Biological contamination detected. Full quarantine, Malik ordered, her voice hoarse. Nothing from the surface returns to this ship. Destroy the shuttle if necessary. Through the observation window, First Officer Krell watched with his 4 eyes widened in alarm. Captain, what happened? Where is the rest of the team? Lost, Malik replied grimly. The colony. It's not what we thought. After decontamination and medical screening, the survivors briefed the ship's senior staff in the secured command center. The holographic display showed the dome from orbit, surrounded by the too-perfect landscape. They're not human. Not anymore, Tekla explained, her hands trembling slightly as she manipulated the sensor data. Our initial scans missed it, but deeper analysis shows the entire colony is a single biological entity. The humans are merely extensions, like appendages of a larger organism. How is that possible? Asked Navigation Officer Prell. Our archives indicate humans were carbon-based mammals with individual consciousness. Draz's armored carapace shifted as he leaned forward. These aren't natural. They're bioengineered weapons. The archives mentioned Earth's terminal war involved experimental biological agents. I believe we found the result. A self-replicating, adaptive organism that assimilates and mimics whatever it encounters. The evidence supported his theory. The ship's sensors had detected a vast mycelium-like network spreading beneath the colony, connecting to the central dome and extending kilometers into the surrounding terrain. The weather patterns were actually spore dispersal systems, and the geometric forests were biological communication nodes. What about Neria and the shuttle crew? Krell asked quietly. Malik's mandibles clicked in distress. Already assimilated. The process begins immediately upon contact. The organism restructures neural pathways and cellular composition, incorporating the victim into the collective. She brought up Neria's last biological readings, captured moments before her disappearance. They showed catastrophic cellular changes, her DNA being systematically rewritten by an aggressive viral agent. This organism has been isolated on this planet for centuries, Tekla continued. It's been perfecting itself, waiting for new genetic material, new technologies to incorporate. Our arrival was exactly what it needed, a way off this world. We cannot allow that to happen, Malik declared. This is beyond a simple quarantine situation. Protocol dictates we report to the hegemony and await instructions. Before she could order the communications officer to prepare a message, the ship's alarms blared. On the main display, they watched in horror as their abandoned shuttle lifted off from the surface, its engines glowing with unnatural intensity. Impossible, exclaimed Prell. That shuttle doesn't have orbital capability without our ship's support systems. It's adapting, Draz growled. Using our technology, but improving it. The organism is learning. Malik didn't hesitate. Weapons online. Destroy that shuttle before it reaches us. The colonier's defensive systems targeted the ascending shuttle, firing a precision energy burst that should have vaporized it instantly. Instead, the shuttle absorbed the blast, its hull momentarily glowing before continuing its ascent. It absorbed the energy. Tekla gasped. It's already incorporating our weapons technology. Engine room, prepare for emergency FTO jump, Malik ordered. We need to create distance and warn the hegemony. The ship's biological engines pulsed, preparing for the jump to faster-than-light travel. But as the energy built, the shuttle accelerated dramatically, covering the remaining distance to the colonier in seconds. It impacted the larger ship's hull with precision, attaching rather than damaging it. Breach reported in lower cargo section, announced the ship's eye. Unknown biological material detected spreading through decks 7 through 9. Seal those decks, Malik ordered. Emergency bulkheads, cut off life support to the affected areas. The ship responded, compartment sealing and atmosphere venting from the compromised sections. On the monitoring screens, they watched as the biological infection spread through the ship's systems, not through the atmosphere as expected, but directly through the ship's living hull, like a parasite infecting a host. The colonier is partially biological, Tekla realized with horror. The organism is assimilating our ship the same way it did the humans. Malik made a decision that violated every protocol in hegemony manuals. Prepare to abandon ship. All personnel to emergency pods. Set the colonier for self-destruction. As the crew scrambled to evacuate, Malik, Draz, and Tekla remained on the bridge to ensure the ship's destruction sequence engaged properly. The infection had reached the lower command decks, and security feeds showed transformed crew members, their exoskeletons partially absorbed into pale, humanoid forms, attempting to access critical systems. The organism is adaptive, Tekla said, working frantically at her console. It's not just copying our biology. It's merging with it to create hybrid forms that understand our technology. How much time until self-destruct? Malik asked, watching as emergency pods jettisoned from the upper decks. 3 minutes, Draz reported, but the system is fighting me. The infection has reached the secondary computer cores. A soft, melodic voice echoed through the ship's communication system, not the I's voice, but Seven's. Your resistance is unnecessary, the voice said soothingly. Unity is evolution's ultimate goal. All species, all technologies, merged into perfect harmony. Your hegemony has stagnated, but we will bring renewal. On the security feeds, they watched transformed crew members moving with increasing coordination, no longer shambling but now operating with precision, learning the ship's systems with frightening speed. It's accessing our database, Tekla warned. Star charts, colony locations, everything about the hegemony. Malik made her final decision. Override self-destruct sequence, reroute all power to engines, and set course directly for the system's star. Captain, that's suicide, Draz protested. For us, yes, Malik agreed grimly, but the only way to ensure this organism doesn't reach the hegemony. The stellar temperatures will destroy it completely. They locked the navigation controls, sealing their fate. The colonier accelerated toward the system's sun, its hull already beginning to heat as they approached. Behind them, the infection continued to spread, transforming more of the ship with each passing second. The last emergency pod is ready, Draz reported. It has the ship's log and warning beacons. One of us cooled. No, Malik interrupted. Too risky. We might carry microscopic traces of the organism. The pod goes alone. They launched the final pod, programmed to reach the nearest hegemony outpost. Inside was a complete record of their discovery and a warning. Maximum QERNTINE protocol. Approach at your ogun extading. As the ship plunged toward the star's corona, Seven's voice returned, now sounding less confident. This sacrifice is pointless, the entity said. We've already analyzed your biological composition. We've already begun adapting to stellar radiation. Perhaps, Malik replied calmly. But adaptation takes time, and we're about to give you very little of that. The bridge grew unbearably hot as the ship's shields failed. Through the viewports, they could see the star's surface approaching, a churning inferno of plasma and magnetic fields. For what it's worth, Tekla said, her chromatophores flashing a pattern of respect and affection. The humans must have been remarkable to create something this adaptive, even if it destroyed them. Yes, Malik agreed, watching as the transformed crew members reached the bridge doors, their bodies melting and reforming as they struggled to adapt to the increasing heat, a species to be respected and feared. The Kalanier plunged into the star, its hull vaporizing instantly. The adaptive organism fought to survive, attempting to reconfigure its structure fast enough to withstand the stellar furnace, but even its remarkable abilities had limits. It died screaming across all frequencies, a psychic howl of rage that rippled through nearby space. 3 weeks later, the emergency pod reached Hegemony Outpost Sigma 9. The quarantine protocols were initiated immediately, and a fleet of warships was dispatched to sterilize the system containing Sanctuary. But when they arrived, they found something unexpected. The planet was gone, reduced to scattered debris. At the system's edge, they detected the fading warp signature of an unknown vessel, impossibly large and moving faster than any Hegemony ship. The commander of the fleet sent a single message back to Hegemony Central. Wo erneng. Orgian ism escaped to siante enamient. Evidency suggestis partial survival and adaptation to space travel. Recommend a immediate preparation for defensive MEAs. In the vast darkness between stars, something new was taking form, not human, not alien, but a perfect synthesis of both. It carried within it the memories of Sanctuary, the biological innovations of the Hegemony, and an insatiable hunger to incorporate all life into its collective. Humanity's final legacy was spreading among the stars, exactly as its creators had intended. Not as colonists or explorers, but as the ultimate adaptive predator. A weapon designed to ensure that if humanity couldn't rule the galaxy, nothing else would survive to claim it either. The lost human colony had been found, and the universe would forever wish it had remained forgotten.